Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am talking about murder mysteries and thrillers that absolutely had me just shocked, jaw on the ground, like just really fun ones that got me. These are just books that really got me, really surprised me with their endings. So I do have this broken down into mysteries and thrillers, that way you can jump around if you're interested in one over the other. And let's get into this. My name is Amy Marie. I talk about mysteries and thrillers on my channel. I hope you'll hit subscribe if you're not already. Let's start with the mysteries. Okay, so one I read last fall that absolutely I still love. I kind of want to reread this, which is pretty rare for me with mysteries, but it's A Dreadful Splendor by B.R. Myers. Be careful what you conjure. Basically, our main character Genevieve is a con artist. She is somebody who puts on fake seances knowing full well she's not actually communicating with the dead, and she does it to earn money. But one day she is caught by the police. While she's at the station, a stranger approaches her, and he works for a lord in the area, and he wants her to put on a fake seance. He knows she's a fraud, but he wants her to do this fake seance to help the lord because he recently lost his bride-to-be. And he thinks this might give him closure. But when Genevieve arrives, the Lord is onto her and wants her help instead to solve the murder of his bride. I'm going to leave it at that, but the writing was so beautiful and flowy. It was so easy to read through. I love the cover so much on this. It's absolutely stunning, and I just really recommend this. It's really fun. If you are typically a cozy mystery reader and you're worried or like concerned, you want to know about like the graphicness of this wasn't over-the-top graphic or anything. It's definitely not like a classic cozy mystery, but I didn't find it to be like extremely gruesome or to have like extremely explicit scenes, so if that helps, I hope it does. But this was a fantastic read. I highly recommend it. The Tita Rossi's Kitchen Mystery Series by Mia P. Manansala. So I recently finished Murder in Maman. I actually did a cozy reading vlog with this one, so I'll link it above if you want to check it out. But this is the fourth book in the series, and the books have been consistently excellent. The first book in the series is Arsenic and Adobo, and basically our main character Lila, she works in her family's Filipino restaurant, which is Tita Rossi's Kitchen, and a customer dies. It ends up, jump-starting the series and everything, very classic, cozy, but she is such an amazing character. She gives such beautiful depth to her characters. There's so many amazing side characters. There's really strong family bonds and storylines with this, if you like that. And the mysteries for a lot of these had me so surprised, especially Book 2, Homicide in Iloilo, and then Murder in Maman. This one also really stunned me. I didn't see the ending coming. I totally fell for a red herring. It was very well done in my opinion, and I was flabbergasted. I was shocked. It was really good. So if you like cozy mysteries with a lot of family bonds, if you're interested in Filipino food, if you are looking for like a millennial sleuth, these are all things that this cozy mystery does really well, and the mysteries themselves are great. Murder in a Scottish Shire by Tracy Hall. Another cozy mystery. This one had me stunned. I mean, book 2 in this I remember liking the ending for, but this one, the first book in the series here, wow, I was shocked. Some of the clues for this were so good. It was so satisfying. Our main character in this is Paisley. She is 28 years old, and she has a young son who's like 9 named Brody, and her grandfather actually ends up living with them because he was found outside sleeping on benches. He didn't have anywhere to go, and they're very estranged, so this series kind of covers their relationship and some interesting family history, which I really like. I really like Paisley and her bond and like relationship with her son and then the grandfather. It's very interesting having 3 generations in the same household. Paisley has a yarn shop and she crochets like custom sweaters, and in this one an employee of hers is murdered, and wow, I mean the clues for this, the build up, the writing, I love it. It's so clean and crisp and just beautiful. I love it. I'm like, why haven't I read the next book? I have the next book sitting on my shelf. I need to get to book 3. I absolutely love it. And if you are into dogs, there's a Scottish Terrier named Wallace who is darling. Absolutely darling. I think Scottish Terriers are adorable. If you are a fan of historical fiction and or cozy mysteries, I suggest A Deed of Dreadful Note by Patricia Meredith. This is book 1 in the Anna Catherine Green mystery series, and the cool thing about this is Anna Catherine Green is actually a real-life writer. She actually started publishing mystery novels about 15 years before the first Sherlock Holmes came out, before Agatha Christie was writing mystery novels, and she established a lot of great tropes. And in this one, she is a young woman, this is before she's an author, and she's living with her father, who's a lawyer, and one of his clients ends up dead, and a young woman around her, a little younger than her, is accused. I was so stunned by the ending, and it made me cry. There was a really good emotional subplot. It made me cry. It was one of the few books last year that made me cry. I was like bawling. Okay, like I was truly so emotional over this book. It was beautiful. I'm a big fan of this author's writing in general. She has a Spokane Clock Tower mystery series, which I also love, but this is book 1 with this. I don't know when book 2 is coming out. I hope it's soon because I loved this. I want more Anna Katherine Green. I love reading about like real life people, like reimagined, because I feel like it's a really interesting way to learn about their lives and all the details, and the author does such good research. You can really tell she puts everything into it. I loved reading the details about the clothing at the time, super fascinating, and the mystery had me gobsmacked. Red Shop Mystery Series by Winnie Archer. So the first one in this series is called, I think, Needed to Death, and I checked that one out from my library, but the rest I've been slowly buying and reading through because I just love the series. This is Crust No One, it's book 2. This is probably my favorite, although it's close. Our main character in this is Ivy, and she has returned home to Santa Sofia, California after her mother's untimely death. This one starts with a handyman in the area called Old Hank disappearing, and she and her kind of like love interest Miguel who were like ex-high school sweethearts with some interesting storylines there. I'll leave it at that, but they end up kind of tracking his last moments and trying to figure out what happened to him. And what happened to him? Wow. I didn't see it coming. I'd say the series actually has some surprisingly darker elements for cozy. It's still very much not graphic. Nothing's like explicit or anything like that. But there's definitely some darker themes and endings for some of the ones in the series, so if you enjoy a little bit of a dark cozy, a little bit more of a serious tone to the mysteries, I think you might enjoy some of these while still having those amazing slice of life moments with the bread making and just the friendship and the blackbird ladies in this series who all have like little blackbirds on their hats. So many amazing things. I could not recommend the series enough. It's so fun. A Murder is Announced by Agatha Christie, because I have to always include Agatha Christie because she is the queen of crime. And A Murder is Announced is one of my favorites. It is a Miss Marple mystery, and basically there is an announcement made in the newspaper that a murder is going to take place at this place at this time. Well, people show up thinking it's like a murder mystery party, because who in their right mind would announce a murder before they commit it, right? Like, that's weird. But of course, a murder actually ends up happening at the party, at the time stated, all of that, and Miss Marple is going to piece it together. And when I say the ending for this, I was blown away. I mean, Agatha Christie frequently blows me away with her endings, but this one absolutely just nailed it. One of my all-time favorites. I love the premise for this one so much, and Miss Marple is an excellent sleuth, of course, so I highly recommend that one. Another cozy mystery series I recommend for some very strong mysteries is the Deep Dish Mystery Series by Mindy Quigley. So this is a pizza one. I'm actually currently reading this one for a cozy mystery vlog, which is already linked above, but I've read book 1 and 2 in it, and they had some very solid endings. Book number 2 especially, wow. I still remember the clue for that one that like put it all together for Delilah, the main character, and it gets me every time. It was such a good clue that I never would have gotten. Let me know if you got it, because if you got it, like, props to you. I did not, and when it came out I was sitting there like, wow. But basic premise for the entire series is Delilah O'Leary is opening a deep dish pizzeria in Wisconsin, and she opens this place. She's a little bit type A, she's a little bit of a control freak, which I like as a character trait because I know I can relate to it, unfortunately. So I like that in a character, and Delilah is just a very strong-willed, like independent. Her and her aunt, who lives in town, butt heads a lot. They're both very strong-willed women. I love her sous chef Sonia. She really balances it out, and she's a very cool character. But the mysteries in this have been solid, really consistent. Pizza is amazing, and there is Butterball, the cat that she has like custody with. And Butterball is darling, absolutely darling. I want to meet Butterball, so I highly recommend the series. It's just so much fun, really solid mysteries. This one takes place in an isolated mansion. It's like a locked room mystery, and I'm so excited to see how this one ends. Can't wait. The Senior Sleuth Mysteries by Lorian Bernson. I checked these out from my library, and these are Peg and Rose, so we have like a duo of sleuths, and they are hilarious. They are sister-in-laws, and they, in the first book, like, they hate each other. They haven't not had a good relationship for many, many years. Their husband slash brother that connects them is long passed away, unfortunately, and these two decide to try to mend things in the first book, so they join a bridge club, and they get involved with that. Someone in the bridge club is murdered. It starts the series. Book 2 for this, I read last year, it came out. Wow. I mean, book 1's mystery was really solid, but book 2's, I was just blown away. Absolutely loved it. So intense. I'd say this is a really, really great cozy mystery if you enjoy like senior sleuths, if you like a good duo. These two are hilarious. If you like a lot of like humor, like just built-in natural humor with your cozies, this one is so funny. Peg is actually really big into dogs. There's a lot of great dog elements, especially with poodles, and she actually judges dog shows. So really fun, really great cozy mystery series, excellent mysteries. I really recommend that one. For a more serious mystery, I recommend My Name is Eva by Susan Goldring. So my mom lent me this book. I've returned it since. This is historical fiction. This one is intense. It's definitely not cozy at all. Keep that in mind if you are a cozy lover. This one is not cozy. Takes place largely... It takes place over many years. You're kind of going back in time to her younger years, but Eva is an interesting character. In the book, we're reading from her now in like a senior nursing home. She's much older. She's being taken care of, and some things about her past and what she might have done around the time of the war and maybe what happened to her husband and stuff are coming out, and it's very dark, very intense, but also fascinating. So if you enjoy a good historical mystery, I thought that one was really, really interesting, and it was just one that really pushes the boundaries with like your own morals. Like you're sitting there like, do I approve of this? Like, how do I feel about this? Like, it's really hard to not... It's really hard, I think, to be impartial or to like completely say like yes or no with certain like characters in the book, certain events. It's very difficult, especially because, again, like a world war is going on, so of course there's already a lot of dark things happening. But a very, very good read. I really recommend that one. The By the Book mystery series by Tamara Barry. If you want a punchy, fast-paced, cozy mystery series, strongly recommend. This one almost reads more like the fast pacing of a thriller because it just is so quick, and I love it. Our main character is a mystery author, and she has a teenage daughter, Gertie, and they move out to her grandfather's old cabin in the middle of the woods by this small town, like in the middle of nowhere. Of course, a murder ensues. They're by the woods, so that's like an excellent location on its own. And Tess decides to get involved because she's a mystery author. She can do it. Why not? And she has no problem telling anybody off. She is a hoot. She is so punchy. The mystery for the 2 books I've read so far in this both shocked me, both got me, were really, really fun, solid. I was stunned by the first book, absolutely. And if you are someone who liked Finley Donovan, I feel like this would be a good one that's more truly cozy, but has like the same very like punchy, witty writing style. Again, a sleuth who is a mom and a writer, so kind of some overlap there. I really loved that series. And then last for this category, a secondhand boutique mystery by Deborah Senfielder. I think the first book in the series was Murder Wears a Little Black Dress. I did do a vlog with this one. I'll link it above if you want to check it out. But I thoroughly enjoyed this, and these cozy mysteries are like 200 some pages. They're very short. They're very easy to fly through. But they are fun. They are a really good time with the mystery. Like, the mystery is, like, you get into it right away because the book is shorter. So, I mean, you are jumping in head first. You are going in after the clues. The sleuth is very persistent. She's very loyal to her friends and family. She's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get it. She's a very, like, assertive sleuth overall in her boutique. If you like fashion details like myself, so much fun, really good time, and there's some really great holiday ones in this series, so if you enjoy a holiday themed cozy, the first one takes place during Halloween, and the second one, Silence and Sequence, takes place around New Year's and Christmas, so very fun series. Alright, into the thrillers. The first one that recently came out that I just loved was The Search Party by Hannah Richell. This is a weekend to die for. Basically, a bunch of friends who are like, I think they're like all in maybe their 30s or early 40s at this point. They all have like children for the most part, and they are invited to test out their friends who've like moved out of the big city, their glamping business in the middle of nowhere. Think like no Wi-Fi, middle of nowhere, okay? So already a good premise, and you know from the start and the title, The Search Party, that someone goes missing. So you're reading back and forth from the present and the past, leading up to the incident, and who is missing, you don't know. You're so on the edge of your seat. The remote location, knowing someone's missing, not knowing who it is. You're reading it from the past, trying to figure out, is someone dead? Is someone missing? Like, what is going on here? The drama between the different adults and stuff, I mean, I'm like, how are you guys friends? Because I don't know, friends don't do that to other friends, in my opinion. But very fun, very high stakes, very engaging, and the ending for this, I was like, wow. Okay then, good. I'm so intrigued. I want to read more by this author. This was my first time reading her book, and I am absolutely fascinated. So definitely a strong thriller in my opinion. When I'm Dead by Hannah Morosi. So this was a book of the month pick for me last year, and wow. Our main characters we're kind of following around is Rowan, who is like a forensic scientist. Like, she evaluates dead bodies basically, and one night she is called to the crime scene to evaluate a body and kind of determine like time of death, what happened, stuff like that. When she learns that the person she's examining is her daughter, who's like 16, her daughter's best friend. And then she tries to get a hold of her daughter, and her husband can't find or get a hold of their daughter. So I'm gonna leave it at that. But the ending for this was crazy. I was absolutely on the edge of my seat. It was so intense, really, really interesting, very well written. I really, really enjoyed this. I flew through it. I devoured it, and the ending was, wow, it was something. It was something, but it's definitely gonna get you one way or another. So The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. Recently read this, a new release this year. Fascinating. So we have our main characters we're kind of following. We have Cam and Jules. They are a married couple. They've been happily married for a long time. Cam actually rejected a very large inheritance about 10 years ago, and he is now being called back to his family's estate because they are like fabulously wealthy, like insanely wealthy kind of people, right? I mean, the heiress, obviously the title kind of suggests that, and his mother was the heiress, but he rejected the inheritance, and you're kind of learning why, because it's interesting. You know, most people would be excited to receive an inheritance, I would think. You're learning why, and his family, to say they are messed up would be the understatement of the year. So if you like a kind of rich people, family craziness drama, and you enjoy reading like letters from the past and like putting together like the past and the present, you'll love this. I was so fascinated. I devoured this book like so quickly. It was so beautifully written, and I loved all the details about the estate. Just had such a clear picture of this kind of isolated, opulent setting. So very fun, and Ruby the heiress herself is very fascinating, very complex character that I really enjoyed learning about. I'm Not Done With You Yet by Jessie Q. Satanto. So this one is involving two friends who in college cover up something together, and now you're kind of fast forwarding to the future, and things are coming out, things are starting to crack, something else happens that's kind of similar to what they covered up, and they're starting to go like, okay, what is happening here? And these two are interesting. One of them, it's a very classic kind of thriller trope where one of them is very like kind of awkward, shy, off on their own. The other one is like kind of like the it girl who can charm anyone. She's got like the money, she's got all that, you know? And it's a very interesting, very psychological thriller. It's creepy, and there's a very like obsessive nature to the thriller, and as you're reading it, your mind is kind of like justifying the obsessiveness, which is disturbing in itself, right? So it really plays with your mind. It's one of those that's it's best left unsaid, but that's kind of the basic premise, like two female friends, mystery in the past, what did they do, what did they cover up, something that ties it back to the future, they're having to reconnect all these years later, and it's intense. It's very intense. It really messes with the mind. Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This one is tied with my favorite Alice Feeney novel, His and Hers, and Rock, Paper, Scissors takes place during the winter. It's a very snowy isolation thriller. Tropes I love right there. And we're basically following this married couple whose marriage is on the rocks. I mean, they are very unhappy, but they take this trip out to this like remote area. They won this anniversary trip, so they're like, okay, like let's go out there. You know, they're trying to save their marriage basically. Like, it's that bad. They're really on the rocks. And as you're reading this present time, like telling of their marriage, you're also going back in time and reading these anniversary letters for each year of marriage and kind of leading up to things. So you're learning a lot. And it's very fascinating to see when the worlds combine and you're just sitting there. I was stunned. Again, thrillers, it's very hard to give descriptions for without giving anything away, so I'm going to leave it at that, but I was blown away. Absolutely blown away. Another one I love is the Rachel Kroll thriller series by Megan Golden. There's 2 books out in this, and Rachel Kroll is basically a podcaster. She's like a true crime podcaster, and she's gotten very, very famous. So in these books, she is like somehow one way or another, like someone either reaches out to her or she stumbles upon a true crime case that really interests her, and she starts to dive into it to do like her podcasts on, and ends up stumbling on new evidence or new things and getting involved in actually solving these cases. And of course her life is always in danger because somebody is not happy that she is poking her nose into things. So this is very much like a very mystery driven thriller series, but you have like the thrilling element because you're on the edge of your seat knowing that someone is watching her or after her or not happy with her poking her nose in, or there's threats, stuff like that. So I really enjoy this. I think Rachel is a very interesting, very realistic female character. I feel like she really does feel like someone who could exist, which I really like, and the mysteries have been excellent for this. I've always been stunned by one thing or another. Really fun. The Only One Left by Riley Sager, a release from him last year, and this one is very, very fun. Wow, I feel like I keep saying that, but of course this is a favorites list, so I'm gonna rave about these. But main character is Kit, and she's like a full-time caregiver nurse, so she like lives on the premises with her patients. And there was an accident with her last patient, so she has not been able to find work, and she's desperate for any job, and her agency that helps her find these jobs reaches out to her, and she finds out that she is going to be working on this like little island in this mansion for Lenora, who is rumored to have killed her entire family when she was a teenager. Now, it was never proven, so she never went to prison, but she has been like kind of a hermit, a recluse. Well, Kit goes there, and this is many years after her family's death. She starts to uncover different clues, and one night Lenora, as she builds trust with her, she like types on the typewriter because she had a stroke, so she can no longer speak, so she communicates with a typewriter, and she types on the typewriter that she wants to tell Kit everything. That's the premise. Very high stakes, very fun. I feel like it definitely got a little bit, I'm gonna say like reality TV-esque at the end. It was definitely a pretty like, it was a very fun, like crazy kind of ending, but definitely fun, a very good read, very creepy, again, an isolation setting, which I clearly really enjoy. The Quiet Tenant. This one, again, very, very psychological, very freaky. We're actually reading from the point of view of 3 women in the life of a serial killer, and only one of them is aware because they're actually one of his like current victims that he's like locked up. But we're also reading from the perspective of his teenage daughter, who has no idea about him being a serial killer. And then we're reading from the perspective of a woman in town who is kind of flirting. They're, you know, kind of striking up a bit of a dating relationship. So you're reading from the perspective of these women. And it's so fascinating because usually if there's like a serial killer in the thriller, you're reading from the perspective of people trying to hunt them down or like victims. But usually you're not viewing them through the lens of like a father or a love interest, right? So it's very messy, and it really plays with the mind, and the ending for this was, wow. It was insane. It was crazy. I loved it. I loved the ending for this one, and I actually meant to put this on my best books of 2023, and I forgot, so I was really upset. So I was like, I need to shout it out in this one. Very interesting, a very cool twist on the typical serial killer thriller style, with it being about the women in his life and some of them not knowing who he is and like what he is. So it's very weird to read about him from like a normal point of view. It's really weird. The First Mistake by Sandy Jones. Again, this is one I really want to leave as little bit as possible. But basically, our main character, she suspects that her husband might be cheating on her. And she's really concerned about this, of course. And she confides in her best friend. And then she, later, with some situations that happen, is like, maybe that wasn't the best idea. And all these things are coming out, and she's like, maybe they're cheating together. Maybe, like, it's crazy. Like, I want to, like, leave it as untouched as possible, but this is my favorite Sandy Jones. I've read a handful of hers now, and I've really enjoyed, I think, all of them. But this one's my favorite. The First Mistake, truly, there was a point I visibly remember my jaw opening. Like, I was absolutely like stunned by some of the twists in this. It's very fast-paced. Whenever I'm in a slump, Sandy Jones is an excellent thriller writer. She just really, I mean, you are in it immediately. She immediately gets everything going. It felt very high stakes, a very good like domestic thriller. If that's your kind of thing, I would recommend this. I hope you guys feel inspired and some of these are recommendations that you'll check out. Please let me know if you've read them, what your thoughts were, what your recommendations are for mysteries or thrillers that really just made you go wow, like, and take a step back. I would love your recommendations in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Again, if you are new, I do post new mystery and thriller content every week on my channel, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!